Hi there, welcome to another episode of the Diary of a Wellness Bodybuilder. I'm Sumaya Sarawat, your host, and in today's episode, I will be sharing my top 3 tips to manage stress while prepping for a bodybuilding competition. When we commit to a bodybuilding show prep, we are already agreeing to put our body and mind through lots and lots of stress. That is not to say that the outside world is not going to throw more stress on top of what we're already committing to, which is why knowing how to manage stress on a day-to-day basis is going to determine how successful you're going to be in your bodybuilding goals and ultimately in life. So, once I figured that out, I started to become better at managing stress. Whether that be something terrible happening in my personal life, or more stress at work, or just having to do more and more cardio and body getting more and more fatigued as I continue my bodybuilding prep. So today I will be sharing those tips and tricks that I have picked up from being a competitive bodybuilder the last 5 years. My number 1 tip is to have a very strong morning and night routine. Here is why I emphasize this and why this is my very first tip. Now, as we go through our day, anything can go wrong. Sometimes we don't have control over what happens at work, or what happens with our family members, or what extra things and extra loads of responsibility we have to pick up as we proceed throughout our day. Someone could be rude to us and treat us unfairly, or something could go wrong, but what we do have control over is how we start our day and what mindset we have while we're ending the day and going to bed. That's why I think it's important to have a solid routine. For example, for me, I like to start my day slow, and I also like to end my day slow. I start my day taking my weight in the morning, then I would make some coffee. I would do my little prayers first thing in the morning, and then I do some journaling. That's when I make sure that I'm starting the day in a positive note, whether that be giving thanks for what I have or all the things that I'll get to do for that day. I given thanks in advance, and I visualize myself going through the day victoriously. I'm not waking up and already thinking about, oh, this could go wrong, that could go wrong, and putting myself in the mindset of bringing in more stress. Instead of that, I focus on the positive and I start the day with a happy, joyful, grateful heart. And I think that's very, very important when it comes to managing stress. Same thing with ending the night. I make sure that I cut off any cell phones, any interactions with work or social media or TV at least an hour or 30 minutes before bedtime. That's when I do something that kind of tones down all the stress. For me, that's reading, that's journaling. So I sit down in front of my bed with my little journal and I write down the things that I did well today to end in a grateful note. And I also write down the things that I can improve on tomorrow. And that gives me ultimately a sense of purpose and structure that, okay, if I didn't get to do everything that I needed to do today, I have tomorrow, and it's all about progress. That helps me feel that I can manage the task that I need to do, which brings me to my next tip. Tip number 2 is to be organized. Have a list of your goals, the big goals, and then break them up into smaller goals. Long-term goals, break them up into short-term goals. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to have my pro card in the next 1 year. I want to go to Olympia in the next 2 years. X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be for you, doesn't necessarily have to be a goal related to bodybuilding. But once you have that big goal, sometimes when I look at that, it can be very stressful because we are not thinking about all the steps that we are going to have to take incrementally to get to that point. We're just looking at that big goal in itself, and it can be scary. So that is why I suggest organize your goals and make the list as detailed and as task oriented and timely as possible. So instead of looking at the big goal that you plan on achieving in 3 years as one thing, look at what you can achieve in the next 1 year, what you can achieve in the next 6 months, 3 months, and then break it down even further to what you can achieve in 1 month, 1 week, and break it down to day by day. So when I do my morning journaling, that's when I write down the things that I need to do for that day, which helps me stay organized, and I check it off throughout the day as I go. One thing I started implementing this prep specifically is I started breaking down my workday into two. So if you haven't heard about it, there is a book called 5 Hour Workday. I break down my workday into 5 hours in the morning, take a break for 1 hour, and then 5 hours later on in the afternoon, which has allowed me to get a lot more done in a more consolidated manner and manage my stress better and just overall feel more productive. So try it out. It may work for you. My last tip number 3, is to incorporate positive affirmation throughout the day. We all have that little voice in our brain that just comes in and fills us up with doubt, especially when things don't go the way we plan it and stress comes in. That voice becomes louder and louder. So we have to be more self-aware and be our biggest cheerleader. Because if we don't do that, the outside world can easily crush our dreams and crush our focus. And then we may never get to our goals, and we can't have that. So what I like to do is I call it sprinkle, positivity throughout my day. For instance, in the morning, I start off with the affirmations and gratitude. And before I go to the gym midday, I listen to motivational videos on YouTube related to bodybuilding and fitness, kind of to take away the doubts and the stress that I start to feel before going to the gym, because I know the pain that's coming my way. And then later on in the evening time, before bed, I also do the same thing. I write down positive affirmations. Another thing I started incorporating is mirror work. If you're not familiar with that, a lot of the times we talk to ourselves in ways that we would never talk to a family member or to our best friends. So I have been challenging myself every time I pass a mirror to say something loving and positive to myself. And I have seen so much change the last 3 weeks that I have been doing this. It could be something as simple as like, good job, Sumaya. You did amazing this morning. Or great job in finishing this cardio that you said you're going to do. Or just sometimes tell yourself that you love yourself, because a lot of times we have these needs that are not being met, and that can cause emotional stress as well. And then on top of that, anything could go wrong. A family member can get sick, you can get fired from your work, or you can get injured. If you don't have a strong sense of self and strong foundation on your day-to-day basis to manage stress, to stay organized, that can easily throw you off the rail, especially when your body is getting more and more fatigued and you're more and more hungry day to day. And that's what I realized. Ultimately, that is the message, and that is what I have been doing. And thankfully, this prep is my third prep for the year, and it has been the easiest prep. I wouldn't say that life has gotten easier. Absolutely not. I have gotten injured. My dog is sick now, in the hospital getting a surgery. Just found out my grandma was in the hospital. So life happens. But what changed is my mindset. What changed is the practices that I have incorporated on a day-to-day basis to manage my stress, to make myself happy and give myself the positive affirmations and the support and the little pep talk that I need, on top of keeping the promises that I'm making to myself, whether that be waking up at a specific time or allowing my body to rest when it needs to. I'm not punishing myself. So my trust in myself is slowly and slowly increasing, which is allowing me to look at myself like, hey, I got this. Whatever life is sending my way, it's either something for me to improve on or learn from. What can go wrong? Nothing, because end of the day, everything always unfolds and works out the way it's supposed to. If something is out of your control, it has nothing to do with something that you can take action on. What is the point of you stressing yourself out to the point that you are sabotaging yourself? You're sabotaging the goals that you have been working on for so long. So keep that in mind. Always focus on the things that you can control and the things you can improve on. Everything else, leave it to God, leave it to universe, leave it to whatever you believe in. And that is the biggest tip I can give you when it comes to managing stress, whether on a bodybuilding prep or in life in itself.